All right. We got Aaron Lacey here from West. Over the years, you've really made a name for yourself in the world of technology. You're an expert when it comes to social media, but what the advantage with you is your expertise is in the technology. So making what we do on social media work and get the word out there and creating the brand. So we're just going to turn it over to you. Let's talk about growing your brand on social media.
Beautiful, Mike. Thanks so much. I see the opportunity that is social media, that is Facebook, 2 billion users, that is Instagram, 1 billion users, 300-400 million daily active users. I see that as a playground for us, a massive, massive opportunity. And that's why I'm on a roadshow. I want to educate people on how to best leverage this incredible opportunity. Over the past 5 years, I've met with over 2,500 agents, and quite often the question is, Aaron, how do I leverage social media? How do I generate business? What do I post? Is social media even worth it, even worth using? And I say, if you could put all your friends, family, past clients, prospects, people that you want to generate business from, if you could put them in a room and you could walk into that room every day and talk to each one of them, would you do that?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
That's social media, folks. Okay, that's it in a nutshell. Now, it's not everybody. It's probably 2/3, 75% everybody, but frankly, that's the opportunity. So let's dive right in, you guys. So the first principle is audience, right? So who the heck is our audience? Who is listening to us? When was the last time you guys took an audit of the people that are following you on social media, the people that are liking your posts, that are engaging with you? Who are those people?
For me, people like burgers. I'm not gonna lie.
So
that's what I got.
So that's your niche, right? So then we're going to speak more to those people, but we need to give the people what they want, what they like, right? So they like cat videos and dogs and babies. But outside of that, from a business perspective, who's listening to what we post? From a business perspective, from a real estate perspective, who's engaging with that stuff? Are those the people we want following us? So, and specifically, are those people do they live in a specific area? Do they, if we were to kind of put them in some sort of bucket or classify or categorize them, what do they all have in common, right? And so we need to figure out what exactly that looks like, because at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we are influencing the right people that can make a change, that can enhance and improve our business. So if we're not influencing the right people, we need to figure out how to do that. Number 2, platform. How many different platforms are there? And in fact, there's so many more social media platforms than we even use, right? So,
and they're it's almost like they're coming out on a weekly basis. There are not even there's so many social media platforms that we're not using. A lot of social media platforms we've never even heard of.
That's absolutely correct. There really are. And so if we just focus on what are the most popular ones or what are the big ones where we can create the most influence, get people's attention, right? Specifically our audience, which are the platforms that we need to be on? We need to understand who's using these platforms, how they're using them, but specifically, and I love this quote from Gary Vee, who's an online entrepreneur, Gary Vaynerchuk. He says, the currency of business is attention, and there's no better place to get somebody's attention than on social media. Frankly, if you were working golf course properties back in the day, where would you go to get your potential client's attention? You'd probably hang out at the clubhouse, right? You'd hang out at the restaurant, the coffee shop, you'd be on the course. Now we can be in golf-related groups. We can be online, getting in front of those same people.
And what I love the most is you can also create those groups. Like
Absolutely.
if you could create the group to invite people to come and hang out with you. That's the power of social media.
Seth Godin's book called Tribes, incredible book. Really about leadership, but creating your tribe, creating your community, and really bringing value to that community. And gosh, that's what social media is all about, is bringing value to people, right? So staying in front of them, getting their attention, bringing value to them, and creating that influence. And again, we want to make sure that the social platform we're on is the same one that our audience is on. Because if it's not, if we're on Snapchat and we want to influence, maybe an older demographic, that's not on Snapchat, then we need to figure out where they're at. So the other thing I want to talk on quickly here is just brand consistency. Quite frequently I'll see real estate agents that are, on one profile they say their title is realtor, on another it's real estate agent, real estate professional, but to the consumer that's 3 different jobs. And then maybe there's their previous company on one, their current company on the other. So I mean, it's very confusing, and brand inconsistencies are a massive problem online.
I went through this exercise with my wife. We were going through a couple of years ago through my brand. And then I have my radio background, and so my radio name is Whiny. My legal name is Michael. My name that I go by is Mike. And every single platform, from my YouTube channel to my Facebook to everything was different. It just depended when I was creating that profile, whatever mood I was in.
Yeah.
And she's like, Google can't even find you.
That's the biggest issue. If Google can't find you, you are really in trouble.
And then Howard Weinstein came out, so I definitely can't be found on Google. So he came out of the closet.
So you guys, brand consistency. And again, hey, if your name is similar to somebody else that's out there, that's more popular, more famous than you, whatever it might be, maybe that's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, but we need to make sure we're consistent with our brand. And I'm not just from a name, title, company, contact information standpoint, but what about your bio? How are you coming across there? Can people really relate to you when they read your bio? Do they get some insight into who you are? Outside of business as well, some of the things that you're really into on a personal level, and then all the photos and the imagery for you, from your background photos to your cover photos. Are you consistent with that? And have you added something, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever your background cover photos are that you've added? Is it something more than just a landscape or an aerial shot or a picture of a home? Is it something that shows you in it, that shows other human beings, that allows people that maybe this is their first impression of you? They're landing on your Facebook profile, landing on your LinkedIn profile. By the way, your LinkedIn is probably your top search result when somebody Googles your name. And what is that background photo? That's the first thing they're going to see, is your profile photo and the background photo. Does that create some sort of emotional connection, emotional response for them? Can they see themselves working with you? Do they feel a little more connected to you by looking at that photo? If the answer is no, then we need to change it. Number 3, you guys, voice. How are you showing up to your audience, right? Your brand is so much more than just the company you work for, so much more than just your name, so much more than just a logo you might have, so much more than just a slogan. Your brand is your voice. And what you say, who you interact with, what you comment on, what you're posting about, all your activity online makes up your brand. So, what does your persona look like? Is it warm and friendly or authoritative? What's your tone sound like? Are you personal and direct? Are you humble and honest? It's really interesting just to kind of take inventory of how you're coming across on social, how you're coming across online. I would say first step, search for yourself on Google. We know that upwards of 90% of buyers and sellers, past clients, people who referred you, are searching for you on Google. So what's showing up there? And then when we click on those profiles, especially if some of those profiles are social media in nature, what does your voice sound like? How are you coming across? What does your language sound like? Are you complex and savvy? Are you fun and whimsical? Right? You're talking about hamburgers, Mike. So you're having a little more fun, a little more whimsical. I see other agents, they come across.
I can't even spell that word.
Yeah, right. But it can.
But I'm in.
It can be intense. It can be. It's very professional in nature. It's like, I want them just to take a deep breath, like maybe I should do here, and really just kind of go, just sink into themselves and go, wait a minute, I am going to have a lot more success if I just come across as myself.
And I would say too, I'm connected with on social media with a lot of our agents here. And a lot of the stuff that you see that I post and so forth is goofy, about cheeseburgers, about F-16s and things like that. But it's very, it's very strategic. I mean, I really sat down about a year and a half ago and said, okay, What is my voice? What do I want people to see? There's a time and place on social media where I will go for the close.
Sure.
Okay, but as I'm drawing people in and as I'm wanting my audience to get to know me, what is it that I want them to see? What is it that I want them to feel? What is it that I want them to know about my personality? So the person who's consuming my content might just think, he's just, goofball or whatever the case is. But it's really by design.
Sure.
I mean, and
Sure.
whether right or wrong, I've sat down and really thought about that strategy.
Totally. And I would say this too, that's a great point. We have the opportunity to create any perception we want, any persona we want, which I think is a good and a bad thing. If we create a persona that isn't authentic to us in nature, it's going to be hard to maintain that, especially in person with our audience. So I would say be as true to yourself as you possibly can. Take inventory into what you're into, what your passions are, what fires you up. I was leading a class one time, and a gentleman in the front row said, Aaron, I know what my passions are. There anything that solicit me to speak a vowel really loud, like ooh, ah, ooh, and I thought, I've never heard that before, but it's interesting. When you react to something in a powerful way, maybe that's something that really you find interesting or entertaining or scary, and those are things that are really authentic to you. So I would say share those. And then last thing too, on your voice and your voice with regards to social media is your purpose. Are you entertaining? Are you delighting? Are you educating? Are you engaging? Are you informing? Or are you selling and promoting? Right? How are you coming across?
And then with this, would you recommend, this is a rhetorical question because the answer is yes. So, but would you recommend even putting up, a whiteboard on the wall or the giant Post-its and begin to build your story of who it is, what is your persona, and really, when I started in radio years ago, my partner and I, we were on 550 KFYI, and our program director called us and said, listen, boys, you've got to develop, you guys are doing good, but you got to develop your persona. Okay, what is your persona? Okay, who's the right winger? Who's the scotch drinker? Who's the cigar smoker? And begin to build your persona so that when I did talk on air about topics, my persona came through and the audience connected with me because that was my persona. And we went through the exercise of drawing it out.
What I love about figuring out your persona, and in the marketing world, and what we actually do, and what I do with clients is I go through what's called a brand archetype process with them, and it allows them to identify with one of 12 different brand archetypes. That's ARCHETYPE, and it makes you more relatable. Right. So once you figure out what your business brand, your business personality is, then you associate and attach to that, and it makes you more relatable just to the public in general. So they look at you, they feel more comfortable with you, which again fast tracks kind of trust. And I would say this to you guys. Mike's talking about developing out your story. I'm talking about building your story as well, understanding who your audience is, but really kind of lean into something that is going to further tell your story. And Mike's really associated himself with hamburgers recently, and I love it. So when
they've been thrust upon me by my fans.
Here's the thing: when I think of hamburgers, you know what's funny? I think of you, my friend.
Okay, and then you took me out to lunch. We went out to lunch. I'm not going to let you off the hook.
Oh my gosh!
You took me to lunch about 6 months ago, right?
Yeah.
And you took me to True Foods or some place like that, and I'm like, I was polite. And then about 30 minutes after we were done, I sent you a text. I'm like, don't you ever do that again.
And you said, you're still hungry. I said, I am too. Hey, you know what? I figured you needed to like a little deviation from the hamburger.
Yeah,
so
I'll go home and spend time with my wife and my kids if I want correction in my life, pal.
So I love it. I love it. You guys, storytelling though, telling stories. You guys, the fastest growing segment of social media right now is stories, is Instagram stories, Facebook stories. That's why Snapchat's so big, is because of the story feature that it has. What is that all about, you guys? That's telling your story. That's sharing. That's documenting. Documenting, allowing people to see kind of the behind the scenes. So, what do people want to know about? They want things that are valuable for you, that are passionate for you, that are exciting for you. And then specifically on the business side, valuable information that's valuable to them. What is value? It's perceived benefit divided by cost, or usefulness divided by the cost. So how useful is information we're sharing with people online, and how long is it taking them to actually consume that information? You guys, number 5, authenticity. I'm showing, for those that are listening, and I'm showing an iceberg where you see just the tip of the iceberg above the ocean, and then underneath is really all the things that make us who we are, but we only show people just a little bit. And I would highly encourage you to show and to allow more people into your world to see what's kind of under the surface, if you will. We've really done, and me being part of West, which is a technology company that consults with a title company, but basically being part of this technology company and having other colleagues around the country, we get to work with some of the top real estate teams, brokerages, and agents around the country, and really do some deep diving into what's making them successful with social media. And I'll tell you, a lot of them that have reached a high level of success on social, that have a huge following, are the ones that are incredibly authentic. They've really leaned into who they are, their personas. They've built those out, and they're allowing people to really get a feel for their true personality. And so that is the major differentiator. All right, if we're all just seen as real estate agents, what's the big differentiator? It really is our personality, until somebody really gets to know us and how we do business, and we provide maybe a higher level of service.
And you can do that on social media too, which is great. It's just finding the balance of, there's a time and a place for everything. As people get to know you, they also need to get to know the other side. For me personally, I leverage my social media to promote New Life Center, which I serve on the board, which is a domestic violence shelter, something that's dear to myself and my wife. That's how I draw people in, and let people know the other side as well.
Sure.
And we could talk. I guess we could talk another 30 minutes on cause marketing at that, right?
Right.
I knew that your content was going to be so good today when Sarah, our producer, said, "I'm going to actually pay attention today," and she's taking she's taking notes. So that is the highest form of compliment that we could possibly.
I'm flattered. I'm very flattered. Thank you very much, guys.